blindness. Yan, types of blindness. Like myself, I would consider myself as profound low vision because, as you can see, I know
Farmhouse Simulator,
I know
Tears of Joy, Ultimate Farm Life.
the clothes that I wear, which is like ice cream, cheese, like that. And also I could perceive light, though I could not perceive faces, like if your nose are hawk-like, or if you have chinita eyes, if you have round face, like that. I will not know about it. So that's low vision for you, and that's how my acuity is. So when we are blind, we are just limited to do things, but we find ways to do the things in our own way. So now here, person with disability or visually impaired in a workplace. And it was discussed already by Mr. Manlapas, but let me expound that when we were hired to the subsidiary of Standard Chartered Bank, which is Price Solutions Philippines, we have no problem with the accommodation because the Standard Chartered people had already a partnership with the TRIV. So if you are companies like them, that you want to hire visual impaired people like us, you could talk to us, talk to a TRIV, and we will find solutions for you. We will talk to you, and we will make sure that both sides will be satisfied. There, that's a category of reasonable accommodation. In my experiences working with that company, we experienced that when we were situated on the floor, we mean on a call center is on the floor, we are near the aisle or we are near the door. If for instance we will be placed in the middle of the floor, some a sighted person will be tasked to guide us outside the workspace. So that's the reasonable accommodation that they did for us visually impaired. But since I worked there from 2013 to 2019, meron pong pagkakataon, there were times talaga na I would not ask assistance because I know na already how to navigate through the office without having to a sighted person to guide me, because visually impaired people like deaf, we are good in things. So visually impaired are good in memorizing the things, whether where the cabinet is, where the table is, the pantry, the restrooms, and so on, the door, even the Bondi clock machine. We can memorize where it is located. So just give us time and we will know. So you may, well, in the work that I had, there were months that we will be changing places, so that's their consideration for us. Okay, reasonable accommodation, we did not experience that because they treat us not as visually impaired, but as normal people. Like what Mr. Manlapas told you earlier, when it comes to discipline, the higher ups or the managers talk to us about the disciplinary action that is proper. But since
Accessibility button, nav bar.
the disciplinary action doesn't entail that visual impaired will be excluded, and also we visual impaired employees then understood that when we have fault with the rules of the company, we can be punished, then we submit to the rule, because that's the rule. It means that when you talk to the person with disability or to the visual impaired in particular, talk to him, talk to her, because we will understand. That's a fact. We will understand. There, lowering of standards. Though we haven't. Well, in a way we had that, because when you know that we deal on card loans, and that entails quota every month. So the management decided that, for instance, the quota is 100,000, we will have half of it. So our quota is 50% of the quota of the sighted people. We haven't experienced this undue hardships, because like I said, when we were hired by the subsidiary of Standard Chartered Bank, we were treated like sighted people. So the punishment that they give, the rules that they promulgated, the rules that they disseminated to the sighted is also applicable to the rules of the visually impaired. There's an example of our undue hardships, but unfortunately we haven't experienced that. Yeah. Now here's the thing. What is assistive technology? That's it. That's the meaning of it. And here are the examples of assistive technology. There. I would like you to focus on the third item of this slide, because that is the thing that visually impaired and other person with disability like Mr. Cromwell told you earlier. That thing. Next slide. Yeah, like that. I know how the cane, you're familiar with the white cane, I suppose. The braille, that is, I also know how to do that. But maybe this third item, if any one of you who would like to volunteer as Dr. Watson, maybe I would try to use the magnifying glass. Or the visually impaired people can now use. So with the advent of this pandemic, although it's kind of negative for us all, but there's a positive thing that came out of it. Like it enabled us to be more active by using those technology. So it's not anymore impossible for us to chat with you guys, because we have the means of chatting with you. Like this in Zoom, unless you will hold the you will enable the camera for us. I mean, you make us put on the camera. You will not know that you are actually talking to a blind person or to a visually impaired person. Now we can do selfies, we can do Facebook, but in my work before, we also use that. We also use the NVDA to enable us to work. That's one of the accommodation also that they enable the company for us. Like they allow the NVDA to be installed in their computers, and this is for us, or that is for us to navigate the files that they have given, the lists. Now, before we were hired, we were interviewed. Okay, so when we were interviewed, the fortunate thing is that we were not asked the thing that Mr. Manlapa said, that can you do the job, like that. Because when we were interviewed, they told us firsthand, how will you do the job? Because they believe that even though we are visually impaired people, even though we are blind people, we can do the work that they required us to do. Next slide. So they also made the examinations much easy, because they modified it and turned it into an Excel file so that we could read using our screen reader installed in the computer. Guys, let me tell, ma'ams and sirs, let me tell you that there is no computer just for visually impaired. The computer that we are using are computer like yours. Windows or Mac, they have the same screen reader capabilities. So it's not anymore, again, impossible for us to navigate and to work for a company. And focus on the applicant skills. Yeah, that's the thing that must be given emphasis with, because it's not the visually impaired thing, it's the skill thing. Okay, when we were working with the company, like I said nga po, the managers, from the presidents down to the supervisors, constantly go to our workspaces and they constantly talk to us, telling us how we are doing, how is the work going through, do we have difficulties in doing the work. And if we said that, ma'am, it's kind of difficult for this work to pursue, like for the sales to pursue, they give us advices. Also, aside from the officers of the company, even our colleagues help us. Like, they also give us advice, they give us tips and tricks, they give us cheap tips in a way to facilitate the sale. Next. Yan.
Shopee number 1 online shopping. Kumuha ng MGA coupon na gayon.
In finality, look at this code. It just tells you that we are not visually impaired alone. We are skilled, because actually some of us who are visually impaired are graduate of college, business administration, education. Some of us have courses in computer, IT. Like myself, I'm a graduate of information technology. It's a 2-year course. But some have graduated in computer science, computer programming, and so on. So we are also capable. We are also are not in an disadvantaged sector like before. We can now express our thoughts. We can now do the work that you asked us. Like if that is in sales, in the workplace that I belonged before, like I said, a colleague of mine who is also visually impaired is much better than me. He always get the quota, even exceeding the quotas of other sighted people. So that's how good we are, how good some are. And I'm hoping that with this presentation, we have enlightened you things about us visually impaired. Because yun nga po, we can do things. So I'm open to, if you have inquiries, I may answer it. If you have questions po. Yeah, if you have questions. And since so, yan. May question po ba? Hi, ma'am. Hi, ma'am. Mm. 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 Okay, thank you po, ma'am. Ano po pangalan niyo ulit, ma'am? Miss Mac. Thank you po, Miss Mac. That's a very good question, and my answer to that is, number one is your awareness. Because if you are not aware of us, persons with disability, that we can do the things right now, medyo mahirap po tayo mag-usap, parang ganon. Pero since you are here now, and meron na po kayong awareness, okay na po yan. Yung step ninyo, ma'am, napakalaking step na po na yan. Sobrang big step na po. It's actually half of the battle na eh. Kasi nakita nyo na kami, nakita nyo yung capability namin in a way. So, ganun. Second thing is, yung yung ating pong, yung parang, notions, yung ganun. Kunwari, in visual impairment, ang visual impairment po, marami pong yung character, marami po yung labels, katulad sa hearing impaired. Wag po natin i-generalize po. Kasi once we generalize things, we can never know how to treat that person. Because if he is low vision, kaya lang ang pagkakaalam natin is blind siya, medyo hindi po tayo magkakaintindihan. Ikalawa po, lang po yan, give and take. Kumbaga, we are willing to listen, we are willing to adjust to your rules. In fact, yung mga rules nga po ninyo is applicable din sa amin. Pero I would strongly make a pakiusap na kindly yung binanggit ni Mr. Manlapas na screen reader, banggitin ko po, actually may costly po talaga. Pero apparently before, I don't know kung ano pa rin siya, kahit costly yung screen reader niya, pwede po siya makapag-install hanggang 5 computers na visual impaired po. So, yung cost na yan, akala po na natin isa. Tsaka po number 3, yung mga IT personnel po, be open po to suggesting na kailangan po ng screen reader. Kasi ang akala po ng mga IT, isa din po isa na experience ko, na may virus yung mga screen reader. Baka daw po pasukan ng virus. Hindi po. Screen reader po are apps, not viruses. So, at saka po kung gumagamit po kayo, Miss Mac, ng yung mga proprietary software, kung magagawa po natin na i-embed yung screen reader dun sa proprietary software na yun, mas maganda po, promise. Yun po. Thank you, ma'am. A big baby step at that, ma'am. A very big baby step. Salamat, ma'am. Any other, po? Question or one? Ayan. Ay, thank you very much. It's it's an honor for us na makadaupang virtual na palad po kayo. Kasi po bihira po kami yung sa Sodexo, alam na this, na joke lang po. May GC. Group chat po, hindi gift certificate. Group chat. Diba? Yun. And yun nga po, i-emphasize ko lang yung screen reader kasi po importante ito. Kailangan po talaga na once na mag-hire po kayo ng visual impaired, na po yung screen reader. Makipag-usap na po kayo sa mga may alam regarding sa screen reader. So, para po, ang nangyari kasi before, although yun nga po, maganda yung pinasukan namin company before, tumagal ako doon ang almost 7 years. Matagal din po yung process ng application form mula pag-apply hanggang pagpasok. Kasi ang tagal ng lalo na yung sa mga managers, medyo andap. Sorry sa term, mama, gamitin ko yung term na andap. I don't know why, pero wag po. Okay lang po yan. Harmless po yung mga po namin, screen reader. Like yung ginagamit ko, NVDA po ang tawag dyan, or non-visual desktop access. Yan, libre yan, ma'am. Libre po. Yan. Sige, ma'am. Thank you po. Any other, Any other violent reaction? Question? Yan. So, kapag po tayo ay aware, we will be the most wonderful company na papasukan po ng isang PWD, promise. Kapag ginawa po ninyo yan, ipipraise pa nila kayo kahit sa kapituhang langit po. Ganun po. They will be proud of you po. So, we are encouraging po to those managers that are watching or listening to from Mr. Manlapas to Mr. Cromwell and to me, na wag nyo lang pong pag-isipan. Gawin natin, total virtual na din naman, di ba? Okay na naman yung okay na naman yung environment. Medyo makakasabay na po kami. So, yun po. Thank you, ma'am. Opo. Thank you, sir.